Today's project was created to help a friend replace a faulty light switch. Light switches come in a wide variety. The common switch is very easy to install. It has just two wires that make or break the circuit, and some include a ground. The switch on the left is clearly marked on and off. It's a common switch, the type of which we are going to change today. The center switch is not marked because it's a three-way switch and it can be controlled from two different locations. The right-hand switch is a remote-controlled switch using the old X10 system. The right-hand switch is a rheostat with a sliding dimmer for dimming the lights in the room. The installation of a sliding dimmer is very much the same. Illuminated lights come in two varieties: a pilot light that shows you where the switch is when the room is dark, and an illuminated switch that shows you when the circuit is energized. The second type is useful in garages or closets, so when the door is closed, you can tell if the light was accidentally left on. Rotary dimmer switches come in two varieties. Some are press button and others must be rotated to turn them on and off. The press button type are the most convenient because the light level can be preset and then the switch turned on and off just with the press of the button. Both of these switch designs include a preset dimmer and an on and off toggle. Now that we've covered the basics of switches, let's go about changing our switch. The switch we're going to change is the common switch. The other two are three-way switches. This is called a gang configuration. The switch I'm going to change turns on a security light mounted outdoors at the third floor. At night, I was able to see it illuminate from the basement window as I flipped the circuit breaker. I marked it with a bread tie and came back the next day to do the job. I assembled some basic tools to begin the job. Be sure to shut off all the power to each of the switches in a gang configuration. The switch cover uses common screws. The insulating foam strips are designed to prevent air infiltration. The switch installation screws are a combination of Phillips and a common screwdriver. A Phillips head screwdriver usually works the best because it's self-centering. With the screws removed, pull gently. The wires have been tucked into the box and will allow it to be removed for easier access to the side screws. The screws have been taped to prevent shorting between the switch terminals and the others in this gang configuration. When working with gang configurations, it's important to test all the circuits to be sure they're de-energized before working inside the box. Loosen the terminal screws and then use needle nose pliers to manipulate the wires free. Solid core wire is stiff, so use needle nose pliers to open the loops and free them from the terminals. The bare wire attached to the metal housing with the green screw is the ground wire. I remove all the oxidation from the copper wires with a Dremel tool until the copper is bright and shiny. If you don't have a Dremel tool, any wire brush or even sandpaper will help remove the corrosion. Notice the difference in the before and after of the wires that have been cleaned. The black residue on the ground wire is from the electrical tape, and I removed that also. I looped the ground around the green screw and then crimped it with pliers before tightening the screw. The two insulated copper wires are attached to the side terminal screws. The order doesn't matter. The wires are wrapped around the terminal screws in a clockwise direction and crimped before the screws are tightened. When the screws are tight, electrical tape is wrapped around the switch covering the screw heads to prevent shorting the ground wire to the screws when it's tucked back into the box. Tuck the excess wire into the box, allowing the switch to nest in the box easier. Tighten the upper and lower screws a little bit at a time so that the switch recesses into the box evenly. Here I'm test fitting the alignment of the switch I reinstalled to make sure it lines up with the opening in the switch cover. Leave the mounting screws slightly loose so that the switch can be moved from side to side until it lines up properly with the mounting holes. The center switch was not properly aligned and had some difficulty, so I used a scribe to push it into position so I could set the screws. With the job complete, the circuit breakers were turned back on and all the switches were tested and working properly. Here's a close-up of the old switch before disassembly. The old switch did not have a ground screw. The two rivets were drilled out so you could see how the switch was constructed and see what the cause of the problem was. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and please like and share.